Hello, listeners of the Art Versations podcast.
Hi. My name is. Hi. My name is Broadway Classic.
Let's hear it.
Big, huge thank you to Chris Levine for that theme song that you just heard. What a lovely little jingle he made for me. I'm so grateful, and hopefully you'll enjoy listening to it every episode from now on. Hi, I'm Bri, like the cheese. And if you are new to the Art Versations podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. If you are a returning subscriber of the Art Versations podcast, you'll know how excited I am to be back. Especially now, I think more than ever, it's really important to be talking about art and keeping, the conversation going during the COVID-19 climate. And I also think it's still worth having, even though maybe some projects have been pushed back or there's not much going on in terms of producing art. We can still, have a conversation about it and keep it alive. But I hope that you're all staying home, staying healthy, and hopefully staying sane. My guest this week is William Flood. He is just about to graduate from Ryerson's acting program. He is an actor, a director, a writer, and a close collaborator of mine. Recently, we've been working on some projects together, so I was really happy to actually sit down with him. Though it was via Zoom, we were able to talk about his play Soap and some other things on his mind. And I hope you enjoy.
Keep the ego, but keep it in check.
yeah, it's always there, but make sure you're doing a little check on it. Hi, Will.
Hey there.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm cooped up on my bed with a little pillow thrown, so comfortable.
Royalty at home.
Yeah. Living it up to the best as I can during these crazy times.
Yeah. How is your mental health doing?
Honestly, this is probably the first time I'm checking in with it since all of this has started, because I think I've just been going day by day, seeing what's going on and not really thinking of myself more as everything going on in the world. So I think I'm okay. I just think I'm a little down. I'm just down. I think everybody is down right now. I saw an article that was really interesting that said everyone's grieving their daily routines and everything they're doing. So I think that's kind of where I'm at.
For sure. There's such a change, and we're all having to adapt, but we don't really know what to. There's so much uncertainty. Yeah,
exactly. Everything's up in the air right now. There's, we're in here for 2 months, 2 weeks, everyone's throwing out time. So you go with the flow, you take the shots.
Good for you. I admire that. I think that's a good way to look at it. And obviously as an artist, we're always staying creative. It's something we just do naturally. I'm wondering what's something you've seen recently or read recently that has kept your inspiration going.
Yeah. I think something that's really cool that I'm seeing right now, specifically in the theater scene, is how much, obviously it has to, but things are moving online and people are finding really interesting, really unique, original ideas and ways to do theater, to do, performance art, to do anything they want to do online, and finding that avenue. Because I think that's where, obviously, in our day and age, everything is going. It's going online, it's going on the screens. So, and I understand a big part of theater is live. I love the liveness of theater, but I think it's a very interesting avenue, and I think it's going to keep theater pretty relevant now. I think it's a good step towards keeping theater relevant.
That's you want to be able to look to the future, and like you say, it seems like technology has taken off so much that live performance is so rare, or at least for us it's very normal. We're used to that. But I think a lot of people would rather watch a Netflix movie than go see like a play, right? Like
100.
there's
Yeah, because you're in your home, you know, you can press pause, and even if not, if you go to the washroom, you don't feel like you're being rude. And
Mhm.
I think that's the biggest thing about live theater. Everyone knows they have to put aside themselves, like when they go to the theater. Whereas like I think the online avenue in a theatrical realm is perfect for all of those people who don't want to go to the theater and do that kind of stuff. And it's an interesting way to maybe look at doing stuff. And it's been making, like you said, creative, like it's been making me think of very creative ways to maybe push my ideas and like concepts I've had for projects and stuff.
Is there a specific piece of media that you've seen recently that has done that?
Well, I've just seen all the online festivals and
Mm.
everything that everyone's been trying to do along that line. And it just seems like there's such a drive to like find ways to put things online, even with new voices, you know, like we're thinking of hopefully maybe getting our plays online. Like that's the plan now. So it's really interesting to see how the whole community can kind of jump onto this platform that was so kind of like, you know, theater people, they didn't want to do their theater on the internet, you know, like
Yeah.
we're only on stage, blah blah blah. And now it's like when this is our last resort, we're opening our eyes to all the ideas and all the possibilities. And I think that's really fun.
Mm. And using video rather than like a stage, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you know, thinking of like film like that's people can consider that to be like our theater that's on TV and stuff. But I don't know. I think there's a different quality to film that's a lot more technical, just because of the state, I guess, of like, you know, angle shots, all that kind of stuff.
The
But
editing and stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's that's the realm of what that is. That's the job. And but I think there's also a platform where maybe we don't focus so much on, you know, the technical aspect, the as much as we cannot, with it being a technical platform,
Mm.
and focus just on what's happening with what's being recorded. I don't know. I think there's
Yeah.
interesting things that are being thought of, and I think people are opening their minds to it, which is one of the biggest things for the community.
That's really cool. Yeah. Because I mean, what's great about live theater is that it's present, it's very freeing for the actor or the performer because they can just be. But when you put a camera and when you have to, you know, cut, or there's a certain point of action where that's when you start the acting, or that's when you start being free. But then you can also, you know, edit it and post and filter it in certain ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like you're saying, to find freedom in and not be so technical while you're making film is something that I think myself too like would be really interesting to play with, especially as we move into this online platform and this online
Hmm.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, because you see, even in musicals, I see that are like recorded on Broadway stage. You know, it's
Totally.
a lot of it is basic, simple, long shot, like, you know, close up here when they're singing the song. And it's so effective. I'm like, I don't need all the crazy angle cut and editing, all that stuff. Like, I just need what's there. And I think that now I'm going to probably start to look to do things like that. And I think everyone's going to start to do that now. So jump on it while it's hot and people don't take it over.
Although I do wish that we can get back to like sitting in a theater all together and you know, the
Mm,
lights going down and the orchestra playing or whatever, you know, all those like
yeah,
beautiful things about live performance that, you know,
that
people
make it
like
special.
us. Exactly. It's so special. It's so one of a kind to be in a live show. I was thinking about the fact that like theater people or people in performance art, we require other people. Like we require the presence, the ideas, the creativity of other people because it's so much about a team and so much about a community. How have you felt about not being around other people as much? Right? Like especially as a student in your class and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, because this is what you live and breathe 24/7 for, like, at least when you're in, you know, school of performance, like
Yep.
for the last 4 years has been our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen the same people consistently, and yeah, it's a shock to not get the closure of what I thought I was going to get with all of those relationships, with the class in general, with the teachers that I got to be with. What I had imagined in first year to like right now is not what I wanted in saying goodbye, you know? And I know there will be a time where we'll all get together and we'll hang out, we'll have such a fun time, we'll say our goodbyes, but it's just not going to be the same experience. And I think that's what's the most tragic to me, like, because I know I can always reach out to these folks. I know they'll always be there for me if I need, advice or someone, to lean on. But just the fact that I'm not going to get, what I was expecting to get for the last 4 years is just kind of a little upsetting, I think.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this moment of, we had built up all of our expectations for this last semester, and all of the projects we've been working on, even just the idea of like a graduation ceremony, I was thinking of, like just to say like, I finished it, I can, walk down the aisles or whatever, the romanticizing of graduation has now been taken away. And I mean, what's good is that, at least we weren't, at least we're not like in poverty or something like that, like dealing with, it is a very like first class problem, I guess you say, or first world problem. But at the same time, like this is something we've been working on since first year, like you said. And it really does put a damper on like the idea of finishing with a bang, or like
full circle,
especially with projects and stuff. Yeah.
And I think that's what it's just, I feel like no matter what, I'm going to have an unsatisfying, like end to this all, which is, it's such a shame because like this has been the craziest fucking like most wicked 4 years of my life. And like, and obviously it was going to end with the pandemic. How could I not have known that? Like that was the only way to step it up from all the fucking shit that's been happening the past couple of years.
Yeah.
But still, you don't expect that to come.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So yeah, it's okay. I think it's okay because we're all going through it together. That's what I think keeps me feeling optimistic about this, is like, as much as like, oh yeah, this sucks for me, it's like this sucks for the world right now. Like I personally, being alive, like being a conscious, like not a toddler, being like, I don't know what's going on. I have not like been alive during, global kind of crisis that is everyone's so on the same page about. And so it's just something that I find to be really interesting and a little heartwarming, to see how we all, just start going through the same thing right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a global problem.
Exactly.
So that at least we're not alone, right? We don't have to think too much about ourselves, I guess.
It's not just my little play. It's also like freaking Barbara from Texas's wedding and all, like
Barbara.
I know, Barbara. And that's
not
how
gonna
I
get the wedding.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to try to get the shit off of my life. Everyone's going through it.
Good for you, man. I really like it. That's such a good way to look at it. Just because, like you say, you can get so caught up in your projects that are not getting on. But I mean, speaking of your little play, which wasn't so little, there was a lot of people involved. And
it was the biggest New Voices play cast size.
Look at that. Yeah. I mean, just to be a part of it was so exciting for me, working with choreography and stuff. But, I think as a director, I've been able to watch you more and more, and I admire your ability to just like trial and error, very much sort of whatever happens. We're going to make mistakes. I think that's really an interesting approach, because I feel like maybe as a director, you'd want to like figure out the correct way right away. Like you don't have a lot of time in your hands, but I think you gave this play a lot of time before it got canceled. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I think as a director, like, is that your approach? Is that to just try and be open to error, or?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm 21, I'm in fourth year of university, and I'm working with people who have the same experience as me, more experience than me, like just a little bit less experience than me. So the way I see it is like, I can have an opinion, I can have a thought, but I don't necessarily, like, even if I'm like, that's the vision, like, I can't, I can't claim that until I see it in the space. And so I always love to just see what the actors have thought about it, because I'm an actor. I know I go home, I have 10 million thoughts about what this character is doing and how they're bringing it into the space. And I feel like when I go into a rehearsal and a director kind of boxes me off already, or doesn't give me the ability to at least play in the space, to fall on my face and be like, no, that wasn't the right one. I don't know. I think it does a disservice to the actors. So I always try to think of like, what's the best approach in like letting them discover these characters, because that's how we're going to have a good play. Like, I can direct all I want, but unless they truly understand these characters and what we're doing, like, it's not going to have an authentic connection. It will just be, oh, that's Will's direction of this, that, over here and there. Like, and that feels unauthentic and like lame to me. So yeah, I think that's why I go in trial and error. I try not to be I stick to my plans, but I don't stick to, I guess, what I originally think or my concepts, because it's always flowing and I'm trying to create and merge it with what my actors have in mind too. And I was lucky enough to have Eric Weinhardt beside me for this production. And I've known him for like 8 years now. So it's like, that's someone who, I know him, he knows me, I can trust his judgment, he trusts mine, and we work well together. So it was great to have someone that I could bounce those ideas off, because in shows like Spring Awakening, where I'm by myself, it's such a large production, that can get intimidating. And I can admit that it's intimidating. I'm working with so many people that I admire, that I think are talented and, like ground stopping, like stars, whatever. And I'm thinking like, oh, they're looking to me for suggestion. They're looking for me for what I need to do. So I love that, because it elevates me, to just be better in all senses.
Wow, I love that. I love that you like took the opportunity and didn't just think, oh, well, I'm the director, everything I say is right. And, like you said, this is a big opportunity for me to hear my actors, listen to what they're saying as well, play, like you say. I mean, especially, yeah, with something like Spring Awakening, where it's a musical, there's so many different elements to it. It's not just about text, it's about music and choreography and blocking. I mean, did you find that like intimidating at first, or were you like, I'm ready for this?
When Stephen and Ben asked me if I would like to direct, like, I immediately was like, yes, I do want to direct. Like, obviously, like, I hadn't done like a musical since grade 12, and that's where I kind of started to love theater and stuff, like musicals. So when I saw the opportunity to direct one, I was like, shit, this is fucking everything I've ever wanted to do. But also, like, do I know how to do this? Like, and I had to think about that a little bit. And, I just used my best judgment to say, you've had experience, you've directed before, and, we're going to figure out the music side of things, and the choreo side of things. I'm going to have help on that side. And so I just said, go for it, because why not? Obviously the why not is, there might be a bad production if you're not good enough, but I have enough trust in myself, and I have enough like confidence, I guess, in just like, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm not going to do a bad job. And so I knew if I did say yes, like, it would push me to become an even better director than I was 1 month ago when I was working on a previous show, you know? And so I thought, why not? I want to keep on growing. I want another thing on my resume. I want to keep on directing, you know? That's something I've secretly realized I have a really big passion for. Even when I started directing in grade 12 for a Sears show, there was just a very special feeling of like, this is different. Like, this feels really right. And I want to chase that feeling and see where it brings me.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to say yes to opportunities, right? Like anything could be amazing and anything could be really bad, but you'll never know until you try, right?
Exactly.
I want to hear about this Sears show.
Oh God. Oh, I was
grade 12.
Eric was directing a different show opposed to me, and yeah, it was just it was by Michael Frayn. It was called Audience. Same playwright who wrote Noises Off, and it was basically a show of upper class and lower class British people watching a play. So it was just watching an audience of people watch a play and come into the theater and sit down and then like go, and it was a cute little show. I really much loved it.
Humble beginnings, I guess.
Humble beginnings for sure. But that was just a great experience because it was like, you always want that, especially as a kid, the idea of like being the leader, you know, to me always seemed appealing. And just because I don't like being led by bad leaders. And I think that's where it comes from. It's not, I don't want control over everything and stuff. A lot of the times I really don't want to be the one in control, telling people what they have to do, but I want to be able to at least lead people to do well. And I think that sometimes can be lost with some people who are so either concerned about themselves or just are too nervous about being honest.
Yeah, I've noticed that too as well in like the dance industry, because not all dancers can choreograph, right? And I'm sure it's the same for actors, right? Like it's a different skill because you have to know that you're not the one doing it anymore. You have to be able to give direction or give instruction to people so that they can be their best, right? Yeah, I think that's really cool that you don't want to be led. You have experiences that have been bad where you've been led by people that just haven't made you feel the best or powerful on stage.
And that's the worst thing, especially when I consider like my actors, they're not getting paid for shit, you know? And I'm not no fancy name teaching them that they're going to put on their resume. So if I'm not at least providing them like a good time, at least some nice tips, you know, being nice and fun, making the room fun, like, then I don't know why I'm there, because it's like humble beginnings. That's what I'm still in humble beginnings. I'm 21 years old. These are my first starting projects that I'm working on. And I'm so thankful for everyone who's given me the opportunity to even say, hey, tell me what to do, you know? Because I often think, who am I, like, to tell you what to do? You have just as much say. You have just as much idea.
This is I love hearing all this, because I totally relate, as a performer myself. But yeah, I mean, we're all still getting our start, especially after graduating school. Going back to New Voices for a second, because I want to hear more about how that transition to an online format would be. If you guys have figured it out at all yet. I'm just curious, especially for people who are doing like at one point there was stage readings supposed to be happening, right?
Yeah, there were. Yeah. That's one little side note conversation about that. It's like, because Soap was originally going to be a staged reading because I hadn't finished the script fully when I sent it in. Not knowing that I needed to, but anyhow, I probably should have realized that. But anyway,
you're still in progress, you know. Yeah, it's a process.
But we worked hard to like try to get a new resubmission because we weren't aware of those things. And I worked super hard on the script and I did it all so I could get my live performance, and then COVID-19 came.
That little
fucked me up.
bitch. Yeah.
But besides that, whatever. How we're thinking of moving things online for the New Voices Festival in general, I think it's pretty open. It's pretty creative, actually. It's going to be a website where each piece will be designated a web page. And then the people who are the producers and playwrights are able to customize that web page to basically how they like it. And they can put what they want up there. They can put production aspects. They can put radio play versions of their shows. They could put a recorded live reading. They could try to get a live reading thing happening on there. It's going to be really up to those people on how they want to showcase their show. And I think that's what I find to be really exciting about it, is because you don't know what you're going to get when you go into each of those pieces, because everyone else has a different point of view of how they want to show their story. Regarding soap, we're probably going to be looking at multimedia radio play, kind of trial and error in figuring out how that's going to work, just because, we haven't ever done something like this before.
Sure,
we're not at all allowed to meet up, which I fully support, but it's just, another kink in the plan. I don't know. What's the
Crinkle?
phrase?
Crinkle
in the plan?
page?
In the page? Okay, I'll take that one. Crinkle in the page.
We're all just making up new words and phrases
I like that
during
phrase.
all this.
I make up phrases on the daily, Bri. I love it.
It's great. What was that one in the script that it was like short end of the stick, or like the...
Oh yeah. I wrote no, it wasn't short end. It was something like the shit end of the stick. I wrote the shit end of the stick because,
so close.
we don't want the shit end.
Yeah.
I don't know. It made sense when I wrote it.
No, I totally get what you mean.
Yeah, we're going to put a radio play on the webpage for Soap. We're going to try to record and edit some sort of thing, put maybe like drawings of scenes in there as the show's going on, so you can kind of see stuff if you want to. And then also, like, who knows, like, I might even get you to, like, do a 80s dance routine just for, like, fun, the vibes of it. Who cares?
I'm so ready for that.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I think you would be perfect for it. You and Zach, just 2 Zoom videos dancing about.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Jane Fonda is me. Cool. Okay. Wow. Multimedia. I think this is the first time I'm hearing this. I'm so excited, just because I feel like it's going to just bring so much more of the story to life.
Exactly.
Right?
Because that was my one concern. I was like, I can go on and do a live reading of my play, but like, what I was so my gosh. What I was so excited about was that, like, I found my play to be an experience that, like, not a lot of people can/will experience. And, like, it's something that is very created in the atmosphere of it. And just the reading of the play, I don't think was going to achieve that. So that's why I was like, I have to have a radio play. I have to have sound effects of, like, walking and chattering and music and all that kind of stuff, because it's not going to sell if not,
Mm-hmm.
And I know
that. Yeah,
that's
that's interesting.
Yeah,
we did have so many like projection elements that we're going to be playing, and obviously in dance stuff too. Like, there is an atmosphere that I think if you weren't in the moment sitting in the audience, then also because it is such a historical story, there's so much that you want to tell, that you want to be able to bring to life from the 1980s,
exactly.
I'm actually curious too, as to, like, as you were writing the script, because you were coming from researching things and watching videos and trying to understand these people's lives, what are some things that you couldn't make time for in the script?
I cut an entire character from the show.
Ooh.
There was 4 men that I like followed, and one of them was going to focus more, and I kind of blended him into the rest of the characters, but I was going to focus more on kind of relating a little bit to myself. Someone who thought they were gay most of their lives and then suddenly realized that they could have a straight relationship and it worked out, and what does this mean, and who am I now, and am I going to go down this road? And I was trying to focus that a little bit, but then I started to realize that it was a little modern and I had 50 minutes and I couldn't give everyone what I was going to, so I cut him. And I also wanted, I'm really upset because I realize my play is, and you know, it should be, but it's majorly focused on the male point of view. And I really wanted to give time to highlight at least a little bit of the female experience and perspective of that time and that event and what's going on, without it being connected to, this is my husband, I have to love my husband, like blah blah blah, you know, talking about their husband. Like I tried to have a book club meeting scene with the women and like some extra female characters who came in and had like different point of views, but at the end of the day, I needed time and it wasn't connected truly to all the stories that were going on. So I cut it. But this isn't to say that in like the true published version, these scenes won't find their way back. You know, I just was working under a 50-minute timeline for new voices. And that's what I think drove me to make some of those decisions.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. Yeah. To have some more female voice. I mean, there's the character of Judy who, you know, watches her husband just, well, I don't want to give too much away, but to be like on the other side of it and loving this person who can't necessarily love her back. That's, you know, that's a sad thing in itself too. And something that I'm sure a lot of people went through. Yeah, I mean, it is from a male perspective, I guess, naturally, because this is, you know, the bathhouse raids. Most of the men in there were gay, or at least questioning.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm trying to tell the story I know, you know,
right. That like,
too. And that's what I claim about the whole project when I started working on it. I'm one queer man in a sea of so many, that like, these are my opinions of this experience. This has been my experience, or what I've seen through experiences. And that's why I welcomed anyone with their own experiences to please bring that in and share, or anything like that. Because I think it's hard when you say, I'm a queer man, so this is what the queer experience is like, you know,
the one queer experience. Yeah.
Because I personally, I'd never been able to relate to a lot of those experiences, just because that's not what mine was. So yeah, I think I try to keep very conscious of that.
Mm-hmm. I do have to say, like, the environment that you and Eric created for Soap, from the rehearsals that I was in, like, was very opening and very, like, just taking care of people. I think that was so nice to have, especially when you're working with students who are also your peers, right? Like, you don't want to have any bad blood between people, especially 100%. When we're trying to make something. And yeah,
especially when I'm asking them to, like, a bathhouse is a very sexually, you know, hyped up place. Like, and to ask people to play with their like instincts in that environment is a big ask. So that's why I thought me and Eric just tried to take a lot of time in figuring out how we were best going to approach this, how we were best going to approach the intimacy in the show, you know. So I'm glad to hear that you know, that's how you took away from the experience, because I really think Eric was great at being so conscious all the time of how can we make things better for them, which is, I think some directors get, I don't know if they're too concerned about timelines or like the work itself, but they get frustrated when actors aren't making it easy, I guess. But the way that's their opinion. That's how they'd phrase it, I'd say, because for me, it's like not making it easy. We're making it easier by making sure everyone's comfortable. Like if
Totally,
we
yeah.
can have guidelines and make sure everybody's on the same page and make sure we have like 7,000 things in like preparation for if someone doesn't feel comfortable or they
Mm.
have somewhere to go, then I can at least feel comfortable working on the show.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's like a safety walk of the physical theater, like don't step on or don't make sure this flat doesn't fall on you, but also like the safety of your emotions. How are you feeling? Are you feeling safe to try and experiment these things? And if you
Yeah.
don't build those boundaries of safety, it can be very, I guess, like also just a bad relationship between director and actor.
Uh-huh. And
Yeah,
like I'm calling people in sometimes at 7:30 a.m. in the morning because of the
totally.
schedules we're working on. And I'm asking us to do like intimacy rehearsal at 7:30 a.m. in the morning. It's like, yeah, like I totally feel like it's important for us. And I think a lot of, at least from what I can see of my peers, of the new generation of like actors and people coming through, is like that's on the like forefront of main concern and like making sure that we're all given those things.
Hmm.
Um, what I can say that theater school has taught me, and I'm super grateful for, is like I will always ask for what I think I deserve, and I won't feel bad or feel problematic about it.
Hmm.
Um, I've been in times where I've felt like a room full of people, are disagreeing with me or think I might be just being difficult, but if I feel a certain way and I know that it's not like, I know it's coming from a true place, from a good place, there's there's no reason in not fighting for what you think is right, is what I
Hmm.
think.
I mean, I imagine that's also very difficult when you're dealing with a director who is more experienced or older than you, like to
Of
ask for what you need,
course.
you know?
Yeah, and I think, and I may be naive in thinking that one person won't destroy my career if we don't work well together.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I'd never say that I would act in a way that would destroy a relationship. I think I'm just vocal.
Indefinitely. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think I'm just vocal, and that's some people's cup of tea, and that's some people, it's not their cup of tea. Um, some people want to hear what people have to say, and some people don't. And it's like
Hmm.
you're entitled to your opinion. That's totally cool. I'm going to work with the people I want to work with, and you're going to work with the people you want to work with.
Yeah.
So let's see who does better.
Yeah.
Where,
Yeah. Sucks to be you. Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, you're right. Like half the battle is just relationships. It's just
yeah,
like let's try and collaborate and be on a good page or else the work is never going to be good. It's never going to get
exactly.
done in a way that we feel proud of.
Theater changed for me when I realized like I am not a superstar who deserves a fucking like Oscar. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like in grade 9, I get like so embarrassed thinking about it because like I would go up to all my friends afterwards and just being like, "Oh, do you think my monologue was good? Oh, why? Oh, what? You don't think that was good? Oh, why? Why don't you think that's good? Blah blah
Mm.
blah blah blah," and get like defensive about it. And then like I would see my friends, like my close friends, go up on stage in like grade 10, grade 11, performing after me, and me being like, I hope they don't do it as good as me. I hope I'm
Mm.
better than them. And the moment I dropped all that shit and just realized, like, we're doing this together, like, I could not make this happen without production, lighting, like, actors, all these people, like, it is such a group effort that if I have the ego to think that I'm the reason it's running smoothly, like, ugh, it's not going to work.
Mm.
So I'm really grateful in not being that type of person anymore. I think that's a really toxic kind of person to have in the theater industry. The work to get famous kind of type. Like, if I get famous, woo! Like, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
whatever.
You're still going to
But
keep working.
that's not success.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think that's some really wise words because a lot of people get caught up in jealousy to a point
Mm-hmm.
where they stop loving what they do, right? Like,
Yeah. How can you compare? Like, I can't compare myself. Like, my girlfriend Riley is an actor, And like, we can't compare ourselves because sure, we have the same school, blah, blah, blah. We have a lot of the same education. We're two different people. You know, we have
Yeah.
totally different experience from previous, like I can't, she'll work in roles that I'll never get to work in, you know? So it's like, I can't compare myself to her in that way. I can compare what I'm doing, and I can compare like what I may not be doing. Like, and I think that's such a healthier way to think, because then you don't start putting up like disadvantages already for yourself because of things that other people are doing. That doesn't make any sense to me.
That's great that you've figured that out, truly, because like I said, I think a lot of people lose their passion and lose their want to make art because they feel like they have to compare themselves to everyone.
Yeah, and
It's
it
so
feels,
sad. Like it
yeah,
feels like it's so like disheartening to hear someone be like, "Well, my teacher told me I was bad at that, so I stopped doing it." Oh,
exactly, because that's what's created, you know. It's a competitive world, like and they tell you that from the start when you're 4 years old and you go, I want to be an actor. They're like, oh well, everybody wants to be an actor,
yeah,
so you better work twice as hard as everyone else. And
totally.
it's
Yeah.
like, from the beginning you're already like, okay, competitive, I have to work harder, I have to fight these people to get the roles. I'm like, I think it's such an unhealthy way of creating our community, because our community is working together, is being relying on other people and making things happen when like it seems impossible. And I think that's why I am trying to at least take my ego out of stuff, you know, and focus at least going into the real world now that theater school is over, you know, of trying to be just me and trying to not do it for other people, trying not to worry what other people think of me. I think that's something that a lot of people get worried about. I think some people, you know, do harm to themselves because they think, oh, you know, I am open to missing a class or two. I'll tell you that. But I see, you know, people in multiple years of my school who are just like, I cannot, you know, I feel depressed, want to die, and all these things
Oh my
today,
gosh.
but I cannot miss voice class where we're going to do 2 roll downs and breathe and watch someone's monologue, you know? And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
well, take care of yourself,
Mm.
you know? Like, theater school is not that important. Like, at the end of the day, if you're not going to be your best self and be able to go out of this program to like do the things you've been preparing for, like, it's not going to be worth it. And that's why, like, if I need time for myself, if I need to, like, if I know I'm, you know, not in a great place, or I might not be a good energy for the environment,
That's
sometimes
a
I
huge one.
make the person, because you have to be, you know, they say leave your shit at the door, come in happy faces, that's the world. And it's like, obviously sometimes that's not, sometimes let's come in and we cry, blah blah blah, but at the end of the day, leave your shit at the door and let's work. So and that, as much as that's true, and I 100 I stand behind that, if you can't do that, maybe don't go.
Right. Because
Yeah,
then you're bringing bad energy
yeah,
into this room and everyone is going to feed off of it. Like we're such contagious people, right?
exactly.
You know, we're standing in a circle doing our breathing and doing our roll downs. Like we actually, so like you say, we rely so much on each other during classes, during performances, that like, if you're having a bad day, like you need to figure that out
Mm-hmm.
and do that from the comfort of your own home, or take a second to go out of class or something. Right. Yeah. No, I think I totally agree with that because like, yeah, like you say, like you are more important.
Yeah,
Taking care of yourself and
exactly. And
feeling like you have something to say that's not like filtered by depression or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I know how important this time is to, like, you know, the 16 other people who are in the room. So
Yeah.
it's like, for me, and you know, people may think what they want sometimes, but I know that at the end of the day, I don't feel disadvantaged. You know, I feel like I've taken care of myself, and I feel like, you know, that's all I can care about at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day.
Totally. Yeah. That's
And
all you can
sometimes,
do.
I was lazy. I'll admit that. Still made it.
Yeah.
Still
Still
got
gonna
those
graduate.
assignments in.
Yeah.
Still at the same place.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great to hear. I truly love your approach. I always have. And I think there are people, I think, hopefully listening to this who will also feel inspired by it to just be yourself, let go of your ego, right? That's so important. Okay, I'm gonna do one oh sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like, as much as like I pretend or at least try to embody like an egoless person, like I have a huge ego, and I won't
We
deny
all
that at
do.
all. I think I'm great. I think whatever. I got to a really cool theater school. I did good job throughout it, blah 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 blah. I think I'm, a talented person. So I think a good way at continuing to see that talent flourish is not to be like, I'm really good, you
Mm.
know? Like, that's it. I'm super good at what I do. Blah 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 blah
I
blah.
don't need to
Because
work hard or collaborate.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'm good. That's what I'll say. I'm good. I want to be
You have
great.
it.
I want to
Right.
be excellent. I want to be the best at
Mm-hmm.
one day in my life, people look up and be like, ooh, that's inspiring. I want to be like that.
Totally.
So that's why I think keep the ego, but keep it in check.
Yeah. It's always there, but make sure you're doing a little check
Yeah.
on it. Okay, well, one final question because we're gonna wrap up pretty soon.
Okay.
I just wanted to know, like, where has your creativity been gravitating to? I know you talked about the online space, but I'm curious as to, like, is there, with all this extra time, right? You're not really like forced to create,
Mm-hmm.
but where has the creativity like been gravitating to?
In all honesty,
Mm-hmm.
I have been obsessed and basically been playing 24/7 The Sims 4.
Oh yeah, you told me about this.
And I'm creating stories and lives and towns, and I'm following this one girl, Michelle McNeely, and she's murdered her husband and stole his money. And you know I think I'm going into the creative things that I love to do that aren't theater, that I have the time to do now, like, sometimes I've been drawing a couple of things, sometimes I'll play some other games that I haven't got the chance to play because I've been working on schedules and figuring out meetings and all that stuff 24/7. So at least the one silver lining I take from this is like, this is what everybody asks for all the time. We're
Mm.
always like, I want to sit home and just not have to do this right now. I want to just whatever. So even though it's longer than I asked, I'm taking that. I'm taking that as it is. And I'm saying, great, you have this time, make of it as you will. Try not to waste it all playing The Sims, but play The Sims and have some fun because you earned it, kid. It's been 4
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, you can kind of escape to your Sims world and create a new reality there. That's
Oh my
great.
God. Yes. 100%.
Murder her husband. I love that. That's so funny.
Yep.
Good for you,
Also,
man.
Tiger King,
Oh, yeah,
shout it
yeah.
out. I'll do it now. Everyone's probably heard it. I watched all of Tiger King, and just so have you watched it?
I haven't, but I've been
Honestly,
told by
Bri,
multiple people.
I get it, bandwagon. It's not a bandwagon thing. It's just amazing. So
Great. Okay.
just
Good to
watch it.
know.
A new episode's coming out next week.
Oh, okay. So it's not like a binge kind of thing. There's like,
Well, it was done, but then since it was such a craze, they went and they're making a new episode.
wow. Okay.
Or at least I just saw an article about this today. So if this is wrong in like 2 days, cut this out.
Well, no, I'll definitely watch it. Yeah, multiple people have been telling me. So I got some time. I'm going to check it out.
It's the Corona hit right now.
Yeah, honestly.
If you don't see news articles about Corona, it's about Tiger King. And that's 2020.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, thank you so much for making time. I know, like, obviously there's not a lot going on, but like just the fact that you were able to make time for me, really appreciate it. And I wanted to catch up and see how you're doing. So
Yeah, it was my absolute pleasure. I love you, Bri. I love working with you. I think you're such an amazing artist. And I love this podcast. I think it's such a, fun, like, especially during these times, it's going to be a great thing for people to like tune into. So thank you so much for having me. It really, really means a lot.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I hope people can continue to discuss art, and that's really kind of you to say. We'll definitely do this again when you're actually with me in person, and that'll be much
That'd be
better.
lovely.
Yeah.
And we're talking about our next year spring.
Yeah,
projects.
May 2021. We'll be
Woo!
doing Spring Awakening. Wow.
Full 2-year production.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording, but we'll continue to talk. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the Art Versations podcast. If you like what you heard, subscribe, rate, and leave a review to help the podcast grow. As well, follow the podcast on Instagram at ArtVersationsPod. That's ArtVersationsPod. You'll find photos of each of my guests so you can match a voice to a face. Let's keep the conversation going. DM me with your own thoughts about art, as I would love to hear them. I'm always up for a good old-fashioned chat. Till next time.